Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. It is going to remain fairly chilly the next few days as we do have Arctic air continuing to flood in from the north. However, as we head towards this weekend, we are going to see the high pressure that is sat in the Atlantic as a bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge at the moment. It will topple over the top of us, not only bringing even drier weather, but also bringing slightly milder conditions. Now, I do emphasise slightly, as we are still likely to be below average in terms of the upper air temperatures and the surface temperatures, but it is going to be slightly warmer than it is at the moment, where temperatures widely are struggling to get into the low teens, only 11 or 12 degrees in the warmest spots today. The longer range isn't looking particularly encouraging either, as we have alluded to in the past few videos. Yes, high pressure is likely to be quite a mainstay throughout the rest of April. However, it is going to be mostly sat out to our west and our north, and even runs today producing a bit of a Greenland high. And with all these scenarios, the airflow is going to be coming in from the north or the east. So yes, the positioning of the high will decide the amount of precipitation we'll see, and at the moment the high does look like in a pretty decent position to keep mostly dry conditions, but all runs at the moment still have that airflow coming in from the north, which means although it will be turning drier, probably sunnier as well, it is going to remain cool, if not cold, for the foreseeable future. Meaning, yes, dry conditions, but not going to feel like, middle to second half of spring or like early summer, which we can see this time of year under higher pressure. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see we've had quite a few hefty showers around today. Typical April showers day, where we've seen some very strong convection powered by the very strong sunshine and the relatively cold upper air temperatures, allowing big cumulonimbus clouds to develop. And you can see at the moment we've got the remnants of those hefty showers starting to die away now as the sun has set. Still showers across Scotland closer to the centre of the low, with quite a few of these having a wintry flavour, quite a bit of snow here over the higher ground. Of course, it's middle of April, so we're not expecting anything crazy, but definitely a little bit more widespread than we should expect at this time of year. There will still be showers around over the coming days, as we'll see in the UKV in a minute, but it won't be anywhere near as widespread as today, as the pressure will slowly rise towards the latter part of this week. Now, if you look at the temperatures, it's around 8 p.m. and look at that, temperatures are pretty cool at the moment. Yes, some yellows around, but that's really temperatures just about getting towards the double digits. Across Scotland, anywhere with any elevation, hardly getting above the low single digits. It really is pretty chilly out there at the moment. You can see even across parts of the Alps, still temperatures widely below freezing, if not down to sort of minus 10 or minus 15 degrees over the highest ground. It's because the cold front has completely swept through, and you can see it's even getting down towards southeast Europe now, where they're just about holding on to the warmth. But yeah, that cold front sweeping in, bringing a return to colder conditions for most of northern and western Europe, and is likely to continue over the coming days. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see those showers fizzling out this evening, but they will continue across Scotland in places through tonight into tomorrow morning. As we head in through tomorrow, there will still be some showers around, but they won't be anywhere near as widespread. And we've got a bit of thicker cloud and rain in the west, as we see a little weak weather front, as we could see some slight transitions in air masses, but we're not expecting too crazy there. As we head into Thursday, we see a bit more thicker cloud and rain moving in, as this is slightly milder air building in as the higher pressure does topple. So it could be a little bit miserable in places in the north there through Thursday. And as we head into Friday, we see very dry conditions, a lot of sunshine around, and this is because the high pressure has toppled and the upper air temperatures will slightly rise. Now, if you look at those upper air temperatures, you see pretty cold and chilly at the moment, but as we head towards Thursday and Friday, you see they do rise ever so slightly, especially into Saturday and Sunday. But I must emphasise, ever so slightly, getting into the mid-single digits further north and westwards, so a few degrees above average, but further south and eastwards not rising too much at all. And of course, This high pressure is likely to move away again into next week and bring another spell of cold north or easterly winds. You can see though, as we progress through most of the weekend, it is dry and we do see plenty of sunshine, and that is the benefit of seeing higher pressure building in. But I must emphasize, temperatures are not going to be all too great, especially the further eastward you go. Now, if we look at this afternoon, hardly getting much above the double digits, 10 to 12 degrees at best. And as we head into Wednesday, a similar story, maybe only mid to high single digits in some areas. Frost in places overnight, quite widely in the north and the west. And as we head into Thursday afternoon, temperatures could just about get to 13 or 14, so slightly up as we see the slightly milder temperatures move in. And the same could be said for Friday, 13 or 14 degrees again. Pretty chilly overnight into Saturday, and into Saturday afternoon again, maybe 11 to 13 degrees. And for Sunday, look at that, UKV actually nudging those temperatures up slightly higher, back towards average, maybe even a nudge above average in the west. 16 or 17 degrees is possible. Now, it's not going to feel particularly warm, especially further eastward you go with that easterly flow, but the UKV definitely bumping up that air mass a little bit today, as we saw a minute ago. I'm a little bit sceptical of that because, as we'll see in a minute, with these longer range charts, they're really not going for anything mild at all in the near or long term. So maybe the UKV picking up on a slight uptick in the air mass, or maybe it's slightly overdoing it. We'll have to wait and see. Still 4 or 5 days away. Perhaps a glimmer of hope of something slightly less cold into the weekend. But as I continue to emphasise, it is going to be turning colder in the days following this as we see a re-emergence of those northerly and easterly winds. Now, to start on the latest GFS, you can see those northerly winds in at the moment and continue to push in over the coming days. But into the weekend, we see the high pressure topple. Now, this looks like it could set up quite a nice, maybe mild, warm higher pressure pattern through Sunday. But look what happens through Monday into Tuesday. We see another low topple over the top of us, and we see those northeasterly winds return. So it does look good for a day or two in the weekend before we see the cold and the slightly unsettled conditions again. We're not seeing any stormy low pressure systems barraging in off the Atlantic, so it's not going to be big walls of rain, but plenty of hefty showers. And you see quite a big Greenland high develops, and we keep these north and northeasterly winds flooding in all the way for the rest of April. Now, if you look at the upper air temperature, you can see those slightly milder upper air temperatures toppling in. Not quite as mild as the UKV, which did get the 5-degree isotherm in. Here it stays out in the Atlantic. But you can see into Tuesday, the colder air returns, and we see the -5 pushing back in by Wednesday, and we keep those northeasterly winds, and we can see a pretty cold air mass indeed here into the final days of April, maybe even the -10 line pushing in, with a bit of snow possible in this scenario. If we actually zoom in and have a look at the precipitation typing, snow developing in places. And if we look at the total snow depth, quite a widespread snow event potentially for Scotland there for a time in the final days of April would be pretty incredible indeed if that came off. And you can see the 2-metre temperatures really struggling there on the 29th of April, hardly getting it into the double digits and low single digits widely further north, as in the dew points as well, widely down towards freezing. So just showing you that yes, it might turn slightly milder this weekend, but this colder pattern looks like it's here to stay for the rest of April. Now, if you compare to the GM, again, northerly winded at the moment. High pressure does topple this weekend. Again, it looks like it could stay around, and we do see the higher pressure building in with slightly milder air masses, more similar to the UKV. However, same as the GFS, by Tuesday and Wednesday, it moves out into the Atlantic, and we see the cold northeasterly winds returning, and you can see that from the upper air temperature deviation. Look at that, down towards around 4 to 6 degrees below average widely, maybe down towards 8 degrees below average in a few spots by the end of the week. And again, if we just run it back, you can see slightly above average there, moving in into Saturday, hanging around for Sunday into Monday, for by Tuesday the cold air is flooding back in for all and dominating by Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, maybe a slight improvement in the coming days, but it's going to be a bit of false hope. We are going to see the temperatures dropping again as we head into the final days, or the final week or so of April. Now, if you compare finally to the ECM WF, which has just come out, so I haven't actually looked at it beyond day 7. We can see the northerly wind moving in. The high pressure topples over the top of us, bringing slightly milder conditions for Sunday, But already by Sunday evening, we see the easterly wind has returned, and we actually see pretty cold conditions continuing to push in from the northeast, all the way from Scandinavia. Quite cold air mass, isobars far apart. Wouldn't be surprised to be seeing some frost and some pretty cold conditions indeed with this sort of scenario. So although, yes, all three runs and UKV going for a slight improvement through Saturday to Monday perhaps, by Tuesday and Wednesday, downhill once again. It could be even colder than it is at the moment. Now, after you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see for London at the moment, we are below average, down towards -5 perhaps in the next couple of hours, before we do see an uptick as we head towards the weekend. You can see that by sort of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're actually closer to average, but still we're actually below average. Even though the temperatures might rise back towards average, we're still actually going to hover below average. And then in the following days, we drop again back down towards sort of 5, 6, 7 degrees below average, and it kind of stays there for the rest of April. Yes, some upticks into the first days of May, but really it looks like it's going to remain cold, and this sort of pattern with constant northerlies and northeasterly winds is going to continue. It is nothing extreme, it's nothing unusual for this time of year, but the persistency, I must say, is quite unusual considering the mild fest we've had the past couple of months with lots of wet and windy weather. This is much colder, drier, crisper weather. Again, we could go back about a month or so back to when we saw a major sudden stratospheric warming, the third one of the winter. Maybe that is having a big influence on this. We can't say for certain, of course, but definitely looking pretty plausible given the persistency of the blocking patterns we're seeing developing at the moment. For those out there loving snow, including myself, it's a bit of a shame this didn't happen in January, as if this sort of pattern came off in January, we really would be seeing pretty historic cold spell. But of course, being in the middle of April, there's not that much cold air there, and of course the sun really does help. With the sort of conditions we have at the moment, if it were January or December, we would likely be not seeing temperatures much above 1 or 2 degrees, ice days in places, maybe even some heavy snow around, and it would persist quite a lot. Whereas at the moment we are seeing temperatures just getting into the double digits, and that's all due to the sun strength and the air masses not quite being as cold, because it is, of course, the middle of spring now. You can see the 2 meter temperatures chilly for the next couple of days, but upticking into the weekend, maybe 14, 15 degrees. The UKV showed 16 or 17. I do think that's on the milder end, and then we'll see another drop off next week, back down towards 10 to 12 degrees. Of course, it's not going to be as cold for that long, just because we are progressing towards summer. It's impossible really to see these cold air masses prolong for too much longer, but the runs at the moment are having a real good go at keeping the last remnants of the tropospheric polar vortex heading our way. Now, after you finish by looking at the ECMWF ensembles, looking at the midnight run, very similar. Cold at the moment, uptick into the weekend, but not really showing much of an uptick, if I'm being completely honest, and then another downtick into next week, and then a slow return back towards average as we progress toward the end of April and start of May. But the foreseeable future, we are below average, and at times significantly below average, maybe 6, 7 or even 8 degrees below average. Chilly conditions, and again, if we look at those 2 meter temperatures, not getting much above 10 to 12 degrees, and this is London, of course, one of the warmest spots, furthest to the south, furthest away from the colder air masses coming in from the north, and not particularly near the coast, so we don't even get the terrible feel-like temperatures when that cold wind is coming in off the North Sea. So London is going to be one of the warmest spots in the country, and you can see here it's hardly getting into the double digits in the coming days and the coming week or two. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Unfortunately, no good news today. If you are looking for something warmer or drier, the continuation of this colder but generally dry conditions is likely to continue, and it could be pretty sustained indeed with this Greenland high showing up on some of these runs. That is definitely increased in the latest 24 hours, so we will just have to see. But for the moment, cold and dry is the headline. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.